Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to the live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everybody's having a great day so far. Let's see who we have in the chat today. We have Sydney, we have Caden, Ben, as well as Nathan, Cookie, Mark, Proxy, Edits, Weather Tracker, Haley, Jax, Josiah, Rose, and Storm Dakota, as well as everybody else who is tuning in. May not be chatting. Glad to have you here as well. A and B, glad to see you. And yeah, let's go right ahead and dive right on into this. We're going to be talking about the potential for some severe weather over the next couple of days here, and potentially all the way through much of February. We'll go over the general weather pattern that we'll be seeing over the next month or so. We'll start with the official National Weather Service outlooks here. So that way we obviously could start off with some official information. So this is your Storm Prediction Center outlook here. And you can see here on the day 4 outlook, so that is for the 29th of January, we actually have a decently small 15% chance for severe weather out here, centered really over Abilene and San Angelo, Texas. That's for primarily the potential of damaging winds, maybe some isolated large hail, and a couple of tornadoes. And that will be a complete overnight threat all the way into much of Thursday, January 30th as well, where we have quite a bit larger of a 15% chance here. This includes upwards of 6.7 million people. Main threats here will be the same hazards, damaging winds, maybe isolated large hail, although the hail threat should be smaller with Thursday's severe threat. And then, of course, a couple spin-up tornadoes will all be possible. That's primarily focused over Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Plano, and Irving, Texas. Hello, Braxton. Glad to see you in here. So those are the two day 4 and day 5 outlooks that we have right now. Really wasn't expecting the SPC to highlight any areas of severe weather today, but they ended up highlighting 2 regions, like I said, day 4 and day 5. I was looking at our stream archives. This is the first time we've been talking about severe weather and not really a snowstorm with that severe threat in, I think it was 29 days. It's been about 29 days since we've really strictly talked about severe weather like we will do in this live stream. We will brief over some snowstorm potential, but the snowstorm side of these systems probably won't be too potent thanks to the warmer weather we'll be seeing in the country over the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you go down here in their discussion, they don't really mention much of a tornado threat here. The main threats they mention is isolated large hail and wind damage. I think wind damage will be the biggest issue. That's what we obviously call damaging winds. So that's going to end up being our biggest threat in both of these 2 days for severe weather. Let's go and dive on into some model data now. We're going to go over to College of Dew page. This is where we're going to be spending a lot of time today over here on College of DuPage, because we've got a lot of model analysis to do. I'm going to switch you guys on over to our College of DuPage scene. Hopefully, okay, perfect. So we're going to start with the 500 millibar GFS jet stream here. So let's pull this all the way out till tomorrow, which is Monday, January 27th. And we'll have this very large cutoff low in place here. So this low pressure is should be located somewhere in southeastern California by tomorrow evening. But the entire system will be located from about Oregon down through Arizona, Texas, and Oklahoma. This is obviously going to be out here for a couple of days because we have this jet stream up here, this trough that has entered much of the central and northeastern U.S. that will block this from entering. So this will not be able to enter the United States tomorrow. It will just stall out there. That's what we call a cutoff low. It's also pretty much a stalling trough ejection. Typically, a lot of these trough ejections that stall out here, they just die out over the southwestern United States. But this one's actually going to be able to hang on, and it's going to stay over Arkansas and New Mexico, or rather Arizona and New Mexico, my bad. Arizona and New Mexico for the next couple of days. And you can see once it starts to kind of move towards the southeast, that's when it's going to increase with severe weather. So we'll just go over this really quick. So this is a positively tilted trough, like Ben just said. This is not going to favor severe weather. This won't be causing any severe weather out for the fishies, right? That's a positively tilted trough ejection. They don't really pull up much moisture. They don't pull up much ingredients instability. They don't pull up all that stuff that you need for your tornadoes and damaging winds. Now, as it goes and tilts towards a neutral tilt, or even a negative tilt. So this is a neutral tilt now, where we're aiming from north to south. That is a neutral tilt trough ejection. Sometimes that could cause some severe weather, but that's not typically what causes our most notable severe weather. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon and evening, that's when we kind of start to see more of a negatively tilted trough. A good negative tilt is aiming southeastward. This is really still a neutral tilted trough, which means from north to south. But you can see these little kinks in the jet stream out here. This does have some short waves with it, which will allow for a better amount of moisture to be lifted up into the atmosphere. But notice how that is like directly neutral. That's not a negatively tilt going into Thursday by any means. And then finally Friday, it points negative. But as we go into Friday, if we look at instability, it's already too late because your instability is pushed back down into the Gulf of Mexico. So Friday may be a marginal severe threat out here in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama in the bottom right exit region of the trough. That's January 31st. But our primary threat will be overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday. Primarily, personally, I think our primary threat's going to be Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, as that trough ejection tries its best to tilt negatively. But this will allow for a much more substantial wind threat. This is definitely the look for a damaging wind threat. Not a derecho, not a long-lived MCS. It just a broken MCS with the threat of a few weak spin-up tornadoes and some damaging winds, maybe small hail as those storms first form. And you could see this from your precipitation type. If we go into Wednesday, really not much happens Wednesday. We just get a lot of rain showers that overlap our warm sector, aka that's going to help actually decrease our severe weather threat for Wednesday and Thursday. But then as we get into Thursday night, there's no daytime heating, obviously, because it's not day at 3 a.m. in the morning. So no daytime heating at all. That allows for very minimal instability. That's going to be our biggest key factor with this, is instability. And you can see the GFS really just has a line of strong storms moving from generally about this portion of Texas here all the way through into western Louisiana, pretty much all day Thursday. It really doesn't have much Wednesday. I mean, pretty much at all. Like I said, Wednesday, it's just a lot of rain over your open warm sector. And that's thanks to, if we switch to your 500 millibars, you can see here, we've got just some jet stream out here. I believe this is the Fluence. So you can see it, how this jet stream's going up to the north. This one's going out to the southeast. That allows for a gap in the atmosphere. And then, of course, you have air that tries to fill that gap. That creates rising motion, which creates thunderstorms. And in this case, you do have instability there. Okay, So, ta-da, I was right. I got to get back into the severe weather swing of things here and not strictly winter. Like I said, we haven't done a severe weather stream in, what, in 29 days. So, welcome Pete, welcome Sydney, glad to see you guys in here. So that's not really going to cause, in my opinion, much of a severe threat. Maybe some small hail, maybe a very low wind tornado threat and a very low wind damaging wind threat. So I really think it's primarily going to be Thursday morning. Once that trough, pushes to the southeastern tilt, our negative tilt, that's when it's going to really begin to kick up with severe weather activity, which should be, like I said, all day Thursday into Friday morning. So we'll see what the SBC thinks about that. There is, of course, some other scenarios. Here's another scenario portrayed by your European model run, which this allows for it to really, I'm pretty sure that's a negative right there. You can see here it is positive, neutral, and then it really tilts in negative there Thursday night. You can see your low pressure is here, and I'm pretty sure this is a decent negatively tilted trough pointing about this direction here. If not, you've got a big short wave. This whole part right in here may just be a large short wave trough embedded inside of your larger neutral tilted trough ejection. So either way, that definitely allows for pretty much the same severe threat. You can see all your instability gets pushed up there. I don't think this might do. Yeah, you can see how messy it is. We'll pull it back again. This is Wednesday. And really nothing. I mean, you just get a lot of rain, maybe some isolated thunderstorms very late Wednesday night. And then Thursday afternoon, this is actually at 1 p.m. Thursday, that trough starts to tilt more negatively. And you can see it in your purple right in here. That's your trough ejection. From what I could tell, this actually looks more neutral with an embedded shortwave trough pointing out that way, which it helps to initiate those thunderstorms. And you can see, watch how sharply this gets into a line by Friday night. It's a very strong line of thunderstorms, and then it breaks apart very, very rapidly. So that's another scenario there. This is primarily a Thursday threat as well. So really, I don't see much happening Wednesday. I think we're going to see a lot more of a severe threat on Thursday. Now, if we look at our supercell composite, this basically compiles a bunch of ingredients into one product, so we can generally see how favorable the atmosphere is for tornadoes. And Thursday morning, you can see it's painted over south central Texas. Now, the issue with this is it's very messy. Look at all those rain showers. So if we have a lot of thunderstorms competing for the same environment, that allows for a very messy mode with minimal actual organized severe storms. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon, you can clearly tell we have a cold front right here because of that sharp cutoff between your favorable ingredients on the southeast side and your not favorable ingredients to the northwest side. So you've got a cold front there. And that would be more favorable for severe weather because it is a line of severe storms or strong to severe storms. So I personally think we're looking at this threat being more of a Thursday night ordeal. Let me go ahead and show you that outlook. So that would include, this is for Thursday, maybe even more east than this as well. I think that 15% could be pushed significantly more east for Thursday. So I think primarily we're going to be looking at Dallas, Fort Worth, Killeen, Brady, San Angelo, Abilene. In my opinion, also Austin, College Station, Tyler, Longview. This is all in eastern Texas for the chance of severe weather. And this is Wednesday's threat. That's primarily over this region here. Like I said, centered over San Angelo and Abilene, Texas. But I really don't see much actually happening with that threat. Maybe it will uptrend. We'll just keep an eye on it. That's, they've outlined it just in case. They've outlined it just in case it does uptrend. I do want to take a look at your lower level jet. And see what that shows. It really has a very weak lower level jet. All day on Wednesday, we're just dealing with a 20-25 knot lower level jet. And then Thursday, you can see it ramps up significantly, which is, again, thanks to that probably short wave. I think, let me look at that. Yeah, you can very, 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 very clearly see a short wave right there. Very obvious short wave trough. From about central southeastern Kansas through west central Mississippi. Very, very obvious there. Go back to your 500 millibars again, and you can see that progresses up to the northeast, and then we get another shortwave trough right in here. You can see that pretty easily as well. Now these shortwave troughs, they're obviously really, really small, but they make a very large difference in terms of your severe weather threat. So for instance, as this jet stream increases, the reason for that increasing is two things: both that shortwave trough that you see Thursday morning, and then your main trough ejection pushing through Thursday afternoon and Friday morning. And you can see, and this thing has a lot of short waves, but your primary one is right in here. So your primary shortwave, if we just follow that back here, your primary shortwave is Thursday morning somewhere in central Texas, and that helps increase your jet stream on at least on the GFS model run. Now on the European model run, because it's so high definition, it's actually a bit more difficult to pick out those short waves. I can very clearly see one right in here Thursday afternoon, but I'm having a little issue trying to pick out the one over central Texas. It really doesn't look like it has much of a shortwave on the Euro model. Well, that might be it right there. You see this little kink right in here. That might actually be your tiny little shortwave. It doesn't start up until quite late Thursday, not till about 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Okay, I can see that a little bit better. It's right at my cursor. And then it moves up into Louisiana and Arkansas by Friday morning. So, but yeah, those short waves, they will play a role in like how strong your lower level jet gets. You can easily tell it here from your lower level jet on the GFS model run, like I said, obvious shortwave right in there. So that's going to play a role in your lower level jet stream, which I don't really think will matter much, to be honest with you, because we're not really looking at a strong tornado threat. As long as that lower level jet is greater than 30 miles per hour, then we're looking at a good enough setup for damaging winds, brief tornadoes, and small hail. Now, if we're looking for a strong tornado threat, we want to see greater than probably 45, 50 knots here. And this has about 60, 65, so. Right off the bat, after going through these two model runs, the GFS and the Euro, I can already tell you two things. One is very messy. It's a very, very, very messy setup. And the second thing is the trough. The trough ejection is definitely not the best. It's different on other model runs as well, but it looks like it stays positive pretty much the entire time. And the only reason why we get moisture is because of those short waves. Those tiny little kinks in your larger trough here. See those kink here? And then we've got kinks here. And then as we go into Thursday afternoon, you get another kink out in this area towards Shreveport. So that's like the only reason why you actually get moisture up into this region. If we go back here and look at dew points, yeah, you can see that moisture really doesn't pull up north at all on Wednesday. It struggles to pull up north on Wednesday, like whatsoever. And then Thursday morning, as that first short wave comes through into Texas, it pulls it up more north. Then Thursday afternoon pulls it more north. And then your trough ejection comes through Thursday evening, your primary large trough ejection, and that continues to pull up moisture. So, yeah, right here. Don't get me wrong, your trough definitely helps. Any trough ejection will help pull up moisture, period. Even if it's a positive tilt, it helps pull it up at least a little bit. But you can see here, yeah. See all these kinks and just this negatively tilt here as well. Your primary trough is angled this way. That's a positive tilt trough ejection there Thursday morning. But you have a lot of short waves in this entire region of your trough ejection. That whole region there is full of short waves that will help bring up moisture. And then your trough ejection slowly tilts more neutral here from north to south like this by the time you get into Thursday evening. And then it doesn't get negative until Friday afternoon. Look how sharply that turns negative. So here by Friday, this Friday morning around 3 a.m., it's still a very much a neutral tilt from north to south. And then Friday afternoon, just about this is what, like 6 to 9 hours later, it becomes completely negative, fully negative. If that happened sooner, then we would be dealing with a significant severe weather event. But it looks like that's going to hold off until later on. Yeah, look how far north it pulls that moisture. See that purple line right there? That's your 45-degree dew point line right here. This purple line right here. That's your 45-degree dew point line. And watch how it pulls it so much more north. So this is Thursday afternoon as that trough's beginning to tilt negatively. Watch how far north that goes into Friday afternoon as that trough fully tilts negatively. Look at that. Your 45-degree dew point is now all the way up here into Indiana and Ohio because that tilts so negatively. So if we had it tilt more negative, like as it exits the Rockies, we would be seeing this blue 60-degree dew point line all the way up into like Illinois or Indiana. But thankfully that negative tilt doesn't happen until later. I'm just checking this again. That has a lot of shortwaves, man. It has a bunch of shortwaves embedded in it. A lot of embedded shortwaves. And that's fully thanks to your trough ejection. Obviously, if this trough wasn't here, you wouldn't have any shortwaves. So, yeah, but you can see it. See that yellow jet stream right in this area? And you can see how many shortwaves this trough gets Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon. It gets a bunch of shortwaves over the southern United States. And every last one of those shortwaves help pull moisture. Every last one of them. Every last one of them will help pull moisture more north. So I don't think moisture will be an issue. We've got way too many shortwaves along our trough ejection for moisture to be an issue. I'd be pretty shocked if we don't get good moisture out of this. I know the SPC mentioned not having enough moisture, but I'd be quite blown away if we don't end up with mid 60 dews all the way up into central Texas with this trough. I'd be very shocked. Now, instability, that's because your trough's not fully negatively tilted. If it was more negatively tilted, we'd be able to get more instability out of this. We do get widespread 500 instability, which I think is going to be enough somewhat for a severe threat, but it's going to be very picky. Because if it goes too far south, it's capped. Too far north, and you run out of instability. So it's going to have to be like right around in the middle, in between where it's capped to the south and less instability to the north, where we have that greatest severe weather threat. And another thing is this trough ejection, it could literally fuel a line by itself. For instance, if you remember our severe weather threat earlier this month, me and Lucky went and chased it in North Carolina. That was fueled just sheerly off the fact of how strong the trough is. If the trough has enough forward momentum and enough just overall speed, it can push that line rapidly to the point where it causes severe storms even with 200 instability, or maybe even less than that. Out here in North Carolina, we had no more than 50 instability, and we still ended up with widespread damaging winds across northwestern South Carolina and southwestern NC. So all it takes is for this trough to be very, very quick, and we could end up with damaging winds. So that's why they've already outlined that risk early, because it really doesn't matter in terms of instability. As long as you have some present, it doesn't matter if it's 500 or if it's 250. Either way, with a trough ejection like this, you're going to end up with a damaging wind threat. Now, in terms of tornadoes, that's a different story altogether, okay? You need instability to form those tornadoes. You're going to have to get instability in order to see some tornadoes here in Central Texas, and I think we'll have barely enough. I do think we'll have barely enough, probably Thursday night. Most likely Thursday night. Um, ads ads automator is off, Haley. So maybe you're just refreshing your stream a lot. I mean, that really should be the only thing that causes ads. You shouldn't be watching and then randomly get an ad, because I promise you, I'm not clicking it. The only time you should get ads is when you first enter the live stream, and as I'm ending the stream, like when the music plays, you'll probably get an ad around there too. Yeah, so like I said, it's not the worst setup. It is not the worst setup. It has two main problems. The trough is not going to be negatively tilted. That's a massive one for your tornado threat. Without a negatively tilted trough, there's not a good chance you're going to get a substantial amount of instability nor good wind shear to cause a substantial tornado threat. And then the other one is a lot of short waves. Because we have so much defluence and so many short waves, you can see it here. We've got a lot of defluence out in, almost the entire state of Texas. That allows for a lot of rain before the main trough traverses the southeastern Rockies, which will definitely lead towards an overall more messy setup. So our trough is definitely the not the most perfect out here in a tornado standpoint. Like if I'm wanting to try and chase this for tornadoes, this is a setup that I'm thinking about just staying home for. You know, it's not too many short waves. It's not negatively tilted. It's a cutoff low. It's overnight. It's not a setup I would go after storm chasing wise for tornadoes. They do definitely, Ben. They definitely do. Hello, Nicholas. But Ben, yeah, they definitely do increase the severe weather threat substantially. But if you get too many short waves, and especially short waves in front of your main trough projection, for instance, what we have here Thursday morning, that causes a lot more defluence aloft. Which allows for early. That's how you get crap vection in the early morning hours. That's how you get too much cloud cover. That's how you get all these things that hurts your severe weather threat. Now, for instance, if we pull this forward, see all these short waves Friday morning here that are embedded in the southeastern quadrant of your trough. These won't hurt your severe weather threat at all. These will greatly increase it if this was sooner. This is Friday morning, which is not when there's typically a lot of instability in daytime heating. So this would help our severe weather threat. But if we just roll this back again all the way to Thursday, let me show you one more time here. Positively tilted trough ejection, and you've got a short wave. That short wave right there, this pesky short wave right there Thursday morning allows for more defluence, and if you switch over to your reflectivity, I would guarantee you're going to see all rain in that area. There you go. Almost the whole state of Texas getting rain into Oklahoma and even Louisiana. And that's all thanks to your shortwave. That shortwave will also bring up some instability as well, and that's where your severe threat Wednesday night comes from, but I don't really think we're going to get a substantial threat Wednesday night. I don't think we're going to get a good threat for severe weather Wednesday. Shortwaves can also help with instability because they can grab some instability from the Gulf and pull it up more north. They help with moisture. That's one thing they help with quite a bit. You can see as that shortwave pulls through Thursday morning, it pulls up just slightly, but still noticeable enough. It pulls up more moisture to the north. Like I said, your main trough doesn't come in until Thursday afternoon, which is right around here. So, I think the short waves are going to end up hurting the severe threat more than helping. If I go out more here, maybe this will show you a better example. I don't really think we're going to have a good trough ejection out here. Every single trough always has short waves, but this one has short waves out in front of it thanks to it being a cutoff low. It continues to pull a jet stream out this way. So your trough is here, your low pressure is there, positive tilt trough angled out this way. And since it just sits there, it just continues to flow jet stream to the northeast, which allows for a greater chance of short waves to develop after they traverse the mountains. And that's exactly what it does. That's a good shortwave right there. Wednesday night into Thursday morning. That's why we have a severe threat outlined generally where my cursor is. Because that shortwave should help instability and moisture, at least giving a opportunity of severe weather. Whether or not it's substantial or not, well, we'll have to wait and see. I do want to look at the NAM model. Well, the NAM barely even has short waves here. See how you don't have any kinks? It's just, you know, normal trough action here. You don't have any of those little indent shortwave kinks in your jet stream here Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So that's interesting. And in result, you get no moisture. You get no moisture thanks to those short waves. Or not thanks. The short waves don't develop, which results in no moisture. Your 62s are way back there in southeast Texas. So, again, short waves help with moisture and instability. And since those short waves don't develop here, you're just stuck with a positive tilt trough with zero defluence. You can see there's no defluence in this area, or barely any. How much precip we got out? No precip in that area I just drew. Now, there is some out in front. There is some, like, on top of that arrow, but there's pretty much no rain out there in central Texas, which is completely different than the GFS model. Because you don't have any of that defluence, which allows for storms to fire. Basically an initiation factor. Man, I love when I'm right with this model analysis. I got to get back into the swing of things, so yeah, I'm going to make a few mistakes and probably call a few products wrong. Yep, it definitely does, Caden. Weather is not easy to forecast, but that's what makes it fun. It's what makes it really fun. That's why I like to forecast the weather. It's not easy to forecast or predict, which makes it fun. As for the snow side of this, I really have never seen a good snow threat. I really didn't see much of a snowstorm opportunity. Now, I definitely see a snowstorm opportunity in Colorado and New Mexico. Maybe the northwestern panhandle of Texas, but it seems like that's downtrended. We'll also watch up here. Once your trough tilts negatively, it's actually, is that even negatively tilted there? That's not really negative. This thing is switching every which way. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I gotta show this. This is a positive. Positive tilt. Neutral tilt. Still neutral. Negative tilt. Negative. Positive. Neutral. Negative. This thing shifts through all tilts here. Does your low pressure, like, fully relocate? Oh my goodness, that is weird. That is definitely a weird trough ejection right there. Again, I'll show you here. Positive tilt. The main thing is your tilts. That's something you really want to note with severe weather. So this is a positive tilt, neutral tilt, negative tilt. Negative tilts are very favorable for anything. They're very favorable for pretty much any severe weather mode and all severe weather threats. And they allow for more moisture and instability. So neutral is what you want to see if you're looking for a tornado threat. And this thing phases through all of them. Now, it's also very important, for instance, if you have a neutral tilt up here in the New England states at Sunday at 4 a.m. Eastern, that is not going to cause a severe weather threat. It's nowhere near the Gulf of Mexico. It has no instability with it, but see if it has a snowstorm. There you go. There you go. That negative tilt allows for moisture to be thrown up around the low pressure. And since you have your 540 freezing line right in here, that is a snowstorm and a half. Wow. Am I looking at the right model? Is this a model run from 2 weeks ago? Interesting. What does the Canadian have to say about that? Oh, we actually might be looking at a very real snowstorm threat in the New England states from this. Welcome, Nicholas. Glad to have you in here. Yep, that's what I try to do too. Just learn more about weather and try to get better at analyzing things. And the only way to do that is to try and predict it correctly. Do you think Shreveport, Louisiana will be in the tornado threat? That's very difficult to say. Definitely looks like a damaging wind threat Thursday night into primarily very early Friday morning. But we don't have any high resolution model guidance to be able to predict if the tornado threat will extend that far eastward. Right now, I personally don't think we'll see a good tornado threat into Shreveport, but I do think you could see some damaging winds. I do think you could see some damaging winds Friday morning. What about, let's see. Where in the world? There you go. Yeah, flooding will also be an issue with this, big time flooding. So if you're in Shreveport, or matter of fact, anywhere in central northern Louisiana, all the way up through most of Arkansas into Oklahoma and eastern Texas, that's going to be a big flood zone. This whole area here will be a big area for flash flooding concerns. You can see how much it trains. I mean, rain begins Wednesday morning, and it doesn't stop until Friday afternoon. So that's quite a good amount of rain right there. I believe you're also seeing a little... Yeah, you're also seeing a flood threat right now. You're seeing a flash flood threat right now. Let me see. Is that caused by a shortwave? No, that's just caused by a general flow in your jet stream. That is a very subtle jet stream right there. I can definitely see like a kink here, but I don't know exactly what causes it. And it's so subtle. Like, look, you can see it right here. This is now. There's a little kink right in here. It's so subtle and small. I think that's just simply... What's your dew points out here? Just rain. Just rain, but it's pretty heavy rain. I was expecting to see at least a little shortwave or something. Is that the cold blast we talked about? Yep. You see this crazy cold blast here. Has that changed? It has. So if you watched our video from 3 days ago? 2 days ago? Whenever Thursday's when I uploaded it. Models showed cold air really hanging around here in the mid-Atlantic around the 29th of January, but it looks like that doesn't really hang around as much anymore on our model runs. It would take the biggest changes for this to become a possible tornado outbreak setup. This is a cutoff low trough ejection, which, long story short, typically ends up being very, very messy and not the utmost favorable type of trough for tornadoes. I do think it could go enhanced for wind, but I would be blown away if it goes enhanced for either hail or tornadoes. I think we have a chance at seeing it enhanced for wind. That's it. I would be shocked with tornado or hail enhanced risk. What was I going to look at? Oh my goodness. It's been such a long time. Ben, you might have to help me out here. What was that site that we use to look at other outlooks? You know, we have the Storm Prediction Center, but there's another off-brand site that's not from the SPC, but it still has severe weather outlooks, and it's based off of model runs, I'm pretty sure, like NATOcast. I can't remember. It's been a full month since I've last looked at it. Oh man. CSU, there you go. CSU, thanks. So you know what I was talking about. I want to see if that has anything. Let's see here. Yeah, it has a 5% threat for severe weather, whereas the SPC has a 15%. I do agree more with the SPC though. Like I said before, this trough ejection is gonna have a lot of forcing with it, as you can tell from all the short waves and how strong the overall trough is on the eastern or the right exit region is what we call it. So that's going to allow for a lot of damaging winds. We should see a good damaging wind setup out of this. A lot of damaging winds, probably a few brief spin up tornadoes, and honestly, I don't really see much of a hail threat, but the SPC did mention isolated large hail. Maybe we would be able to get a hail threat out of this Wednesday night. A mid-level low is forecast to move eastward. This is from the SPC. Across the desert southwest from Wednesday, day 4 into Thursday, day 5. Lower level moisture advection will take place ahead of the system across the southern plains on Wednesday into Wednesday night, with surface dew points increasing into the 60s across portions of the southern plains. Scattered to numerous thunderstorms appear likely to develop across the western plains and the moist sector Wednesday night. Large-scale ascent increases ahead of the approaching system. It's exactly what we were talking about. That's all your defluence, which is ascent, which allows for thunderstorms to form. This, combined with increasing instability and strong shear, should allow for a severe threat late Wednesday night. A cluster, keyword is cluster, of strong to potentially severe storms may develop in western Texas, with the severe threat persisting into Thursday, as an MCS moves eastward across the southern plains. Supercells with isolated large hail and wind damage will be possible. There is some concern for moisture return that could be slower than forecasted. However, the strength of the system should help to overcome instability concerns as well as moisture. And it appears a severe threat will be possible as the mid-level jet ejects to the northeast Thursday. Wednesday night into Thursday. Let's see. Cold front is expected to enter the United States, which should keep instability likely very weak, suggesting severe threats will be low from Friday to Sunday. Alright, I do want to go ahead and talk about other severe threats since we've spent a lot of time discussing that trough ejection. So this is your CPC outlook here. Let's zoom out a bit. That should be good. This is your CPC outlook from February 1st to the 5th, and very easy to tell that we are looking at another severe threat being possible sometime in early February. Very, very key factor here, a very easy way, I should say, a very easy way to see if there's going to be a severe weather pattern is simply by looking at your temperatures and your precipitation. So most of the time, if we're looking at a big severe threat, this whole area ends up with above average temperatures, and this area ends up with below average temperatures. And then for precipitation, normally we see a large area of above average precip highlighted on their outlook. So for this, it's definitely a little bit, finicky. It doesn't have that look in the summertime or in the spring where we think, there could be like a big severe weather threat. Blue out here in the west just generally means that there could be a trough ejection. And then, of course, warm in the east allows for warming of the atmosphere. If those two collide, it causes severe storms. So generally, we're going to watch, thanks to it being second season, we're going to watch the southern United States here for a severe weather threat. And they don't really have above average precip going all the way into the southern U.S. But I'll go ahead and show you here. And I'll show you exactly what I am talking about on this map. So if we pull this all the way out to, what was that, the 1st through the 5th? Let's see. There you go, on the 5th. That's a trough ejection there on the GFS model run. And of course, it brings in cool air behind it. So that trough ejection allows for below average temperatures in the western United States in this whole area here. And you actually get a ridge. This is a pretty good severe setup. You see this high pressure out here. And that helps set up a ridge out here in the south central and eastern United States. And look at the temperatures on the GFS here. You are into the 70s and almost into the 80s across a good chunk of the southern United States here, with those 80 temps really being possible out there in Texas on this model run. But that's what we're looking at. Whenever you get cold in the west, like this, and warm in the east, there eventually, whether it be sooner or later, you're going to end up with a trough ejection that helps meet those two together, and in a result, it creates a cold front, and then thanks to that cold front, it creates a severe weather threat, which I think the SPC, or rather the CPC, there you go, from the 1st to the 3rd, they've highlighted a risk for heavy precip, but I don't think that will be accompanied by much severe weather. So just generally speaking, that is how you could look for a severe weather setup on your model runs, is looking at the temperatures as well as your CPC outlooks. So I do think we'll continue with a very active severe weather threat, probably going through much of February. If we look at the February 3rd through 9th time frame, this looks a bit better for severe weather. February 3rd through the 9th, definitely a bit better, with those above average temps being more to the south and those below average temps moving more into the southwestern United States and above average precip in much of the US. That's actually a better outlook in terms of severe weather potential. That's definitely hinting towards an Arctic blast here. And typically with an Arctic blast, you're going to have a trough ejection or a very strong cold front to pull it down to the southeast. And once you have warm temps, that Arctic blast could reach the warm temps. And then if you have a trough in the middle, it causes a severe threat. So we should be continuing with a very active severe weather pattern here, going throughout the remainder of January and then going into much of February. The only time frame I don't know about is late February. This is your outlook for kind of mid to late February here, and these outlooks get less accurate the longer you go out. So I don't think I'm going to look much towards the end of February. That's too far out to really try to recognize if we'll see severe weather that far out. They've also highlighted a risk of high winds here, which is also in part to the trough ejection as well. So it seems like they are definitely trying to hint towards a trough being possible sometime in that time frame of February 5th through like the 8th or so. And you can see the GFS and the Euro both have that trough. I don't think the Canadian goes out that far. It barely goes out that far, but you can see the trough here on the Canadian as well. So we're going to deal with this severe weather threat here on the 29th, the 30th of January. I did want to check, what was that slight risk for? The 1st through the 3rd of February. I don't know why that slight risk is there for so long. It really should just be for the 1st, because this system's not going to hang around for long. You know, Saturday, it's going to be a slow-moving system, but it will still be out of the southern U.S. in a day, maybe 2 max. You can see the GFS hasn't moving through the southern U.S. all pretty much Friday night through much of Saturday, and then it's almost out of the U.S. by Saturday night. So, just to give you an overview, I know it could be a little confusing trying to follow me as I do analysis, but generally we're looking at a severe weather threat in this region from about the 29th through the 31st of January, and then once we get to the 1st of February, we should get into a very brief period of inactive weather as a high pressure builds in the southeastern United States. That should allow for really warm temperatures, well above what we normally see for early February. And then as we get towards like the 5th or so time frame, that is an ice storm right there. Look at that. As we get towards like the 5th of February or so, we should see a big trough swing across the U.S. and that should cause, this is a crazy model run. That should cause a severe threat somewhere between like the 5th and the 7th of February. So I think we're going to see, that is a wild model run right there, man. Look at that. That's a lot of ice. Jeez. But that should bring a better opportunity for severe weather. You know, this upcoming system here that we have on the 29th and the 30th, it's a cutoff low. It's a positively to neutral tilt trough, so it's very messy. It has a lot of short waves, which allow for a lot of defluence. That allows for a very messy threat in Texas. So I really don't see a big severe threat on January 29th or the 30th. Other than winds, I do think we could see quite a substantial wind threat. Probably widespread 60 to 70 miles per hour. But the one going towards, like Matthew just said, beyond the 3rd of February here, that should be a much more substantial severe threat, just simply due to the fact of temperatures here. What about instability? Jeez. Obviously, it's a deterministic, so you don't want to listen to that. But just due to the fact of that high pressure building out here in the southeastern U.S., that allows for a lot more, a lot warmer temperatures in the southeastern and the southern United States overall. And like I said, once we get a blast of cold air, which in wintertime, that's only a matter of when, we always see multiple blasts of Arctic air every single winter. That should cause a pretty good severe threat towards the beginning of February there. Like I said, between like the 5th and the 7th of February. Let me see here. And give me just a second. Okay. Welcome, Pez. So yeah, your high pressure is going to sit right here. That allows that a ridge. Well, I was just about to copy Matthew there. He just literally said what I was about to say. But I'll just read off of him. He said a ridge before a big trough causes trouble. And it does. I was just about to show you why. If we get a ridge to build out really anywhere in the central, southern, southeastern United States, that pulls up a lot of warm, moist air into the U.S. And all it takes, it doesn't even matter if it's a small trough, if it's any type of trough entering from the Rockies, it's going to be able to cause a severe weather threat. Because you get those above average temperatures and that high pressure literally just feeds in. You can see it here. It just feeds in a bunch of moisture, instability, and warm temperatures, which storms love all three of those. And that allows for, once you get your cold front with that trough, a big, substantial, severe weather threat. I mean, that's just a recipe for a significant severe threat right there. So we'll definitely need to monitor that. It is far out. I want to note that. It's 240 hours out. So we'll just generally keep an eye on this area for the chance of severe weather from like the 4th through the 7th or so of February. But a lot of things are going to change. A lot of things are going to change. We're not going to look at specifics and, you know, we're not going to dissect how the trough is because watch this. I go one model run back and boom, it's completely different. Yesterday's model run, boom, completely different. 2 days ago, see if it lets me. Nope. College of Duke page won't load back that far. Oh, 2 days ago, boom, completely different. So definitely not going to go into specifics on the severe threat that far out. What was the... I just want to look at one last thing. I remember it. I got it. CFS version 2 extended range forecast. There we go. Boom. It's from NIU. Yeah, look at that. That is a signal and a half right there. Anytime after the 1st of February. That's a lot. That is a lot of signals. Gracious. So you can see, look how small our signal is here on the 29th and the 30th of January. Let me zoom that in. That's far. There you go. So see how small of a signal that is for the 29th and 30th of January here? That's the 30th. That's the 29th. Those two pink lines. So you've got two small signals. Imagine that, but significantly greater here going into February. I mean, look at all of the ensembles here. They all light up. All of them light up towards the beginning of February. Every last one of them. That is I still wouldn't call it a significant severe weather signal because it's not, we're not in tornado season just yet. But that's definitely a more notable signal than the one that we have for the 29th and the 30th. And the reason why the signals start here on the 1st, you can see after the 1st, you start to see those signals on the 2nd, into the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, pretty much every day in early February, is because of uncertainty. For instance, if we go back to your model runs again. So for the 12Z GFS model run, your primary day for severe weather would be Thursday, February the 6th. And geez, that is very widespread for a second season. And watch if we go back to earlier, this is actually last night's model run. Now, if we go to last night's model run, the primary threat is all of a sudden the 5th. So we just went back a full entire 24 hours on the primary threat for severe weather. Go back again, and your primary threat's on the 3rd of February. You see that? See how it's shifting around a lot. Let's see. What about yesterday morning's run? See if that shows anything. Oh, now we're to the 2nd. You see that? Look at that. We went from the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th to the 6th over our last few model runs. So they are not consistent on what day we'll see severe weather. Just someday in February. That is a giant trough. That is a ginormous trough ejection right there. Look at that. Massive high pressure over the southeastern U.S. into the Caribbean and the Gulf. And then a humongous, huge elongated trough ejection here in the southwestern United States. The whole U.S. The entire 48 has a trough on this particular one. That is crazy. And 24 hours later, and the whole run is gone. You see that? Look at the difference. Look at the difference between the models. Yesterday's, today's. Completely different. Completely different. And that's why we're recognizing the pattern we're going into. We know we're going to see a ridge. We know we're going to have above average temperatures. And we know, since it's winter, we're going to see a blast of cold air. That's going to result in severe weather somewhere in the southeastern United States between this time frame here that the CPC has, which is the 3rd to the 9th, or right around there. So somewhere between the 3rd and the 9th of February, we'll have a chance for severe weather. And that's why there's no point in looking out greater than 24 hours, because models are just going to change ridiculously. New GFS is coming in, and it looks like it's primarily the same as the last one in terms of our severe threat in Texas. Bunch of short waves, a lot of defluence here. A lot of defluence, so a lot of prefrontal, or rather a lot of crap vection. A bunch of crap vection Thursday morning, and then it all congeals slowly. I was about to say rapidly, but it takes forever. I mean, your line starts to form here around 3 a.m. Thursday morning, and then it finally gets into a big line Thursday at 3 p.m. It takes a full 24 hours to get into a large line here on the GFS model run. So it's still relatively the same here. But that's not Thursday's looking good for damaging winds. Not really a substantial tornado threat. Your greatest tornado threat would be further south, like down in this area here, where that shortwave trough is, and on the bottom right-hand exit region of the trough. That's going to be your best opportunity for tornadoes. Maybe even quite significantly more coastal than that, like right in this area on this particular model run. Because you're not going to get a lot of instability. If this was a negative tilt, see how this, it's such a positively tilted to neutral tilted trough. It's not going to pull up a lot of instability. There's not a lot of digging happening. If it was pointed this way, it would be digging into the Gulf of Mexico and pulling up a bunch of moisture. But it's not, so. Because your low pressures, they rotate this way, like this. So they pull up moisture and they bring it around and then they pull it up into the low pressure. And so that's how you get, that's how you get severe weather. That's why a negatively tilted trough is so important. Because if you have, man, I wish I had an example. So if you have your low pressure here and your trough is fully negative like this, you're going to have a very strong amount of jet stream out here in the Gulf of Mexico that's just going to pull up a bunch of moisture. If it was really strong, it would be able to pull it all the way up into like Nebraska or Iowa, like we see in spring and summer. It's not a terrible setup in terms of damaging winds, but again, for tornadoes, it does not scream by any means. It does not scream tornado outbreak. There's not one part of this that screams tornado outbreak to me. It's probably has high shear. I bet this is all shear. Yeah. All of this is a bunch of shear out here. It's just the GFS being funny. So it's very, very high shear, okay instability, and too many shortwave trough ejections setup. So we will, we'll see. We'll just keep watching the models, see if anything substantial changes, and I'm more eyeing February. This is like a little appetizer for your upcoming tornado season. It's not really something that I think will be that significant. It's not something that I'm worried about. It's an overnight damaging wind threat, brief spin up tornado threat, isolated large hail threat. But it's not your primary start to tornado season. Typically, your start to tornado season is going to be late February. Unless we are going into like an absurdly active pattern. I mean absurdly active, like a severe threat twice a week. This isn't going to be your start of tornado season. Which, speaking of that, I do want to go check. I keep eyeing forecast for your tornado season here. Because, like I said, if this stuff starts popping off too early, I'll put out a very early tornado season forecast. I'm going to go look at the CFS. That's like the worst words you could say. And I'm going to go out 756 hours. It has a lot of troughs. And a lot of severe weather threats. But that is way too far out to take seriously. Oh yeah, we're definitely still in winter. We are definitely still in winter. This is your second tornado season. Second tornado season runs from November to like early February or late January. February is just a month that I never remember for seasons. I never remember what happens in February. I feel like February is the most toss-up month out of all 12 months. because you're on the edge of tornado season, but you're also still in winter, but winter's also still coming to a close. So it's like you get 2 seasons in 1 month between January, which is notable for snow, and March, which is notable for severe weather. It's just kind of squeezed in there, and it's a month I don't remember. It's such a toss-up month. And it's just a month that I don't remember any severe threats or anything happening in, because it's, like January, normally we get a big snowstorm that I remember, and then March we get a big severe threat I remember, and then February is just a blur. But we will see what February has in store. I'm really intrigued to see what February has in store, because like I said, I don't remember any weather activity in February ever. So it'll be nice experiencing the toss-up month again. But it's going to be a long month. I think it's going to be a long month because it's before tornado season, and tornado season is it's my favorite time of the year because I can forecast, frequently. All I got to do is hop on my computer, look at models, and then whether it be 384 hours out or 190 hours out, I'm going to see something that looks like severe weather. There's always going to be something to talk about. Whereas in winter, I mean, a lot of the times you're just talking about blasts of cold air. But that ridge pattern that we're going to be getting in early February, definitely, I mean, that is a spring or summer type setup right there, in terms of your temperatures being all the way up into, your 60s and 70s, being all the way up into Wisconsin, and then you have this massive blast right in here. I mean, that looks like more of a spring setup, as opposed to a winter second tornado season setup. Because look at your instability all the way up to Iowa. All the way up to Iowa, man. That is something you normally would see in like March. Late March into early April is when you start to see those types of setups. Definitely March. But that's just crazy because you can clearly tell we have a strong high pressure. Did it move? I think it moved. Yeah, see, it starts out here towards like Georgia and drifts up this way, and along the way it just keeps pulling up moisture and instability. Moisture, I want to look at moisture. 60 dew points all the way up to Iowa in early February on this model run. It's going to be favorable for severe weather no matter what. And like I said, whenever you get warm temperatures entering the U.S. In winter, you're going to see a severe weather threat eventually. In this case, those warm temperatures really begin to enter the U.S. Wednesday, the 29th of January, and we don't actually see our solid severe setup till February 6th. So that's like, what, 7-8 days away? 7-8 day difference with your temperatures there. Like I said, your warm temps enter on the 29th. And then they just sit around all the way till the 6th of February, and then they explode. Look at that. What is that, like 85 in South? That is almost 90. That is 90 degrees in southern Texas right there on this model run. I do want to look at the ensemble agreement here, because that is a very important factor when determining severe weather. And you can see there's nothing. There's no agreement on location of a severe threat in early February. Now let's look at all the ensembles here. Look at them all light up. What happens with ensemble 17? Look at that. That's February 2nd there. Let's see which one of these is the craziest. I'm going to zoom out more. Oh, there's ensemble 1, February 6th. You get a lot of tornado ingredients on that ensemble. This is where they should light up more, February 7th. Oh, Ensemble 13's going, but that's really the only one. So there's a lot of uncertainty. See how they're all on different days. They're on different days. Let's see. We have some on February 1st, Ensemble 6, Ensemble 16, and Ensemble 10 for a severe threat on the 1st of February. 2nd of February, you got Ensemble 7 and 10 that really light up. And then 17 also lights up a lot on the 2nd of February. 3rd of February, nearly none, excluding Ensemble 9. February 4th, 14 and 1 light up. February 5th, 16, 5, and 1 light up. February 6th, there's no agreement. You know, there's not like if we go back here, for instance, let's go to January 30th. This is good agreement. See that? All of them have Supercell Composite in our severe weather threat area for Wednesday night into Thursday. Every last one of them has tornado ingredients. Albeit definitely different intensity between every last one of them, but that's good agreement. So we don't have that type of agreement further out. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I went a little later because I wanted to talk about a few things, but we'll go ahead and end it right now. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you, mods, for mod chat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow is Monday. I don't see us being live tomorrow. We'll go live Tuesday. I'm going to take tomorrow off, and then we'll be live Tuesday. We'll be live Wednesday. And who knows after that. But yeah, that's going to be it. Make sure you guys are paying very close attention to your local National Weather Service and your Storm Prediction Center, of course, to know when that severe weather will strike and if that severe threat uptrends at all. And we'll be back here Tuesday with an update on this severe weather threat. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe for severe weather in the tropics. Not the tropics, the snow. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye. I'll see you guys in Tuesday's live stream. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you, mods, for mod chat, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe and watch the snowfall and severe weather. Goodbye.